Good afternoon, everyone. Today, for the next hour, Brad Harris and I from Full Spectrum Survival are going to discuss how to thrive in the grand solar minimum, how you can prepare right now for the changes to come, the signs around you that you're seeing, how can you get ready, how can you inform those around you, how can you get community involved. This is what we're going to discuss for the next hour. I hope it's really helpful for you. And also I encourage you to jump over to Brad's channel, Full Spectrum Survival. It's a plethora of information for you, for your personal knowledge, how to get ready for this, and how to just roll with these changes, and when others around you aren't prepared, how you can become the leader in that community because you have the skills. That's why I say, jump over to Full Spectrum Survival. You're going to learn a lot from that channel. There's so much valuable knowledge there that we can be using over these next few years as things around us in our lives begin to change with rising food prices and the effects that go with that.
There's documented proof that that did happen, and I think you're right that that information just never came back out into the open. It's always been about the control of information, because those who know are able to make decisions for themselves. And look at what we're seeing right now with the fake news meme and how mainstream media and the pro-government narrative is jumping all over labeling anything that goes against their narrative as fake news. And it won't be long before independent climate research falls into that fake news genre. So what can we do as citizens of this earth to gather as much information as we can now and start to see those patterns? You know, I firmly agree, go to Adapt 2030 here on YouTube and subscribe and start watching. But what else can we do? Are there large groupings of information? Are there places that like minds can get together?
Yeah, the first step is you need to take your own personal power back and quit giving it away to these people who are trying to control your mind through this news feed of real news. Understand that that's all out there for an agenda. I'm a journalism major. I'm not a scientist. I majored in journalism and advertising. I am a research journalist. I put things together and I try to synthesize data across a wide range of disciplines. I'm not an expert in any, but I see the pattern. I put it together in a format and give you news out of my own way that I'd like to present the news. And I see it so you can understand it. Take back your personal power. You do not have to be beholden to these people and do what they say. You're allowed to make your own decisions as a sentient being. You're allowed to make your own decisions on what you believe is correct or incorrect. And I encourage you, look at both sides of the argument and make your own choice. Feel your own feelings. Look at the information and make your own choice. Don't be a toddler where they have to tell you what to think. Demand that you get both sides of the information so you can make your own informed choice with your own mind, with your own, shall we say, power inside that to declare for yourself what is right and what is incorrect. And at that point, by taking that personal power back, that's the first step you need to take. And going to, okay, so I'm going to run down a couple sites here that I use a lot to find my personal news feed. Yeah. Tropical Tidbits. This is that news state. It's not a news state, but it's a platform that has an enormous amount of maps. Go into the sea surface temperature maps, the temperature anomalies. It has by region, by globe, southern hemisphere, northern hemisphere. That's a great one for the maps, Tropical Tidbits. And then if you start rolling through like SOT.net, they have a full rundown on all the global weather changes, as well as like Ice Age Now. That's Robert Felix's site. He's got a huge rundown. Every day he's adding 6, 8, 10 different anomalous events. Adorelli, the Watchers, they have a pretty good range inside there as well. I get a lot of people sending me stuff. John Casey, he's an expert. He used to be a NASA advisor. Follow what he's doing too. He's always putting out videos. He just released a new book. There is a plethora of information out there. Now, one wild card in the whole thing here, the magnetic North Pole is really starting to clip along now. It moved 80 miles this year. Magneticreversal.org tracks the changes of where the poles are going, not the physical pole, but the magnetic pole. And you can see why there's so many anomalous birds going to different areas and whale strandings and just an enormous amount of sea life dying off. They're going to the wrong place to breed or to feed because Think about that. If it's clipping at 80 miles this year, it was 40 miles last year, and it had been going along like this, it's moved almost 350 miles since the year 2000, and now it's really starting to speed up.
Now, what are we gonna see as far as indications on the, on the Earth level of what's happening with that? What kind of changes will we see with that?
This weather that goes right along into that, because the magnetics is how actually clouds can form themselves, and behavior of human beings. Another wild card, you talked about human behavior earlier. In the 1600s, when the galactic cosmic rays came in, they found a lot of strange, unusual behavior occurring at that time. What we would call, and now is like psychosis, but at the uber level, and it just started when the cosmic rays increased. Now imagine that, where our bodies are a lot of iron and water, and we have chemical. What if our magnetic poles start to shift within our own bodies and our cellular structure based on what's happening on the Earth? So not only would we get the cosmic ray bombardment, the radiation from space that would affect us, but then we have the magnetics on the Earth. So what if you're getting both at the same time? One of the things you would look for is irrational human behavior, or people who flip one day and then the next day they flip back to another person. Like this human behavior that you're going to see the gargantuan changes in the way humans actually behave. One of the signs would be sleeplessness. If you get all these people that can't sleep, that's one of the reasons for the magnetics. You might want to try to find where your North Pole is and line your body when you sleep. It'll help you sleep.
I'll tell you what, you're not wrong there. I had a great friend growing up. She lived across the street, and she was the mother of one of my childhood friends. And she was a trauma nurse for something like 30 years. And every major cycle, and even with the lunar cycles, she would see patterns in the number of people who came in with psychologically driven impurities. And so I think you're right there, that we can start to understand that the future might have some changes in it for how humans behave, and we should prepare for that too on a personal level.
Yeah, and speaking of medications and things that we need to do on a personal level, you need to know basic medical care. And Patriot Nurse has all this stuff that you can think about to go out there. Basic medical care, and also these just-in-time delivery things also bring medicines to our stores.
Right.
These things that people with these antidepressants that they're on, if they instantly go off those, that's going to create psychosis for many, many people. What if you can't get your blood pressure medicine? What if you can't get your cholesterol medicine? These are all just-in-time delivery-based things from the pharmaceutical companies running on the same JIT. So what if you can't get that? What if there's a medicine shortage? What's that going to do for the populace?
Even scarier, what if people can't get their pain pills or their serotonin uptake inhibitors?
Yeah, the SRIs. No, whoa.
Yeah, that's the scary part. I think a person, there are some not easily, but there are some manageable care options for blood pressure. But a person who's on SSRIs or a person who's addicted to pain medication, they're going to make some waves when they can't get a hold of it. Now, somebody brought up a question in the chat room, and it's back to climate change and global warming. And they said that can't cyclical events and man-made warming happen at the same time?
Yeah, I do believe CO2 has about maybe a 5% effect on everything that's happening now. The other 95% is absolutely from the sun. Yeah, I agree. We put a lot of pollutants up. You ever been to China? Look how much that weather is affected over there just based on the particulate matter coming out of the stacks that affects, in the morning when the cars aren't running through the cities, it's nice and blue. And as soon as rush hour starts, boom, it's totally gray skies. So there's regional effects. And, we do have some effect on regional weather. I'll agree. We're not at 0% of no effect. We have some effect. CO2.
Right.
Hey, you look back in the past, it's been as high as 7,000 parts per million, and our temperatures have been pretty much the same, maybe a degree or two warmer only at 7,000 parts per million. You can't tell me that raising it by 10 parts per million is going to raise the temperatures up. And just look through the geologic record. And this is where there's a disconnect. The climate science is not looking at geology, and the geology is not looking at paleontology. And there's a whole disconnect between all these different sciences. If they were to overlap, if you look at the geologic record, you see that the CO2 concentrations are way above what they were today and just a couple of degrees warmer. And also, if you look at the temperature records, Use the GISP ice core data. That's like the gold standard. They drilled right at the top, the cap there, and went down 2 miles into the ice. Right. Look at how the temperature had changed, undulating naturally up and down, up and down, up and down. And when there was a drop in temperature, do a little research. When it dropped on a certain time, like let's say 1040, look around globally and see which societies collapsed. Look around 535 and see the Wei dynasty, the Japanese emperor, and the Roman Empire all ended at that same temperature drop. Look how it affected everybody's food production globally on the temperature drops. I encourage you to do your own research. Here it is, GISP ice core data. Put that in Google, go to the images, and you'll get a bunch of boxes with a bunch of lines going up and down. That's the temperature up naturally 3 degrees Celsius. Down 2, up 1, down 3, up 2, down 3. Naturally, no CO2 involved. We are absolutely in the band of average global rise in temperatures over the long. You look, these people are talking satellite measurements of back to 1979, and they're trying to extrapolate out and say we changed. No, look back 100,000 years. Look back 10,000 years. Look at the Younger Dryas. That was a temperature spike.
Well,